Shalom. This is a re-contextualization of a video that I posted in July of 2021. At the time, South Africa was in the throes of violence in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. This time round, the chaos has become more global, and there is an imminent war in the Ukraine with Russia involved in atrocities against the Ukraine nation. And once again, our faith is being tested. This is a contemplative sit, contemplating and reflecting on the words stemming from World War II, but if not. Today we will reflect on resilience. We'll do that by reflecting on text from the book of Daniel. But before we do that, it's very important that once again we experience our centering around the love of God, our grounding in His love. When times are difficult and uncertain, and when it feels as if we are being tested, challenged, then it requires grounding, it requires centering. And this morning, sitting in each other's silence, we'll start with that. So there we're sitting, just breathing deeply again, just to remind you of being here, being open to the presence of God. Allow every breath that you take to open you up to the inflowing, indwelling presence of God. And now, as you breathe in life, love, be reminded of the divine gift of life. Allow every breath that you take to be a celebration of life. Breathe in deeply. Feel how your chest is expanding as the air flows into your body. And as you experience this expanding of your chest, be reminded of living in abundance, of life in abundance. Breathe in deeply once more. And as air flows into your body, realize that the air that you breathe in is cooler than the air that you breathe out. And perhaps that can remind you of being a source of warmth, of love. Breathe in deeply and experience the air that you breathe in as being cooler than the air that you breathe out. And be reminded that you are a source of warmth, of love. Now let us center ourselves and do that in 3 steps again. As you breathe in, feel the upliftment. As you can almost imagine that you're growing taller. As you breathe out, feel your life, your world expanding in front of you. And then just settle in that. Breathe in, upliftment. Breathe out, expanding, and settle in that. And allow yourself to be centered in this way around the love of God flowing through you. And now rest your feet upon the ground. Deliberately rest your feet. And as you rest your feet, you will experience how they become heavier. And this is your reminder of being grounded and rooted in the love of God. At night, when you're lying in bed, you can do this grounding as well. As you allow your body to become heavy, so as to speak, on the bed, as you rest in that, you can experience a full body, rootedness, grounding. And now that we're centered around the love of God, grounded in His love, in the way that we are reminded of in Ephesians 3, verse 14 to 19. And I'm reading it to you. My response is to get down on my knees before the Father, this magnificent Father who parcels out all heaven and earth. I ask Him to strengthen you by His Spirit, not a brute strength, but a glorious inner strength, that Christ will live in you, as you open the door and invite Him in, as you open the door and invite Him in. And here, be reminded of breathing and how the breathing opens you up, and let that be your invitation to allow God in with every breath. And I ask Him that with both feet planted firmly on love, you'll be able to take in, with all followers of Jesus, the extravagant dimensions of Christ's love. Reach out and experience the breadth, test its length, plumb the depths, rise to the heights, live full lives, full in the fullness of God. And with that in mind, bearing that in mind, I'm going to read you a story as told by Gary Collins. He says, near the beginning of World War II, Hitler's forces forged their way across France, demanding the surrender of all Allied forces in Europe and pushing thousands of French and British troops to the shores of the English Channel, weary and footsore, trapped with little hope on the beaches of Dunkirk. The dejected soldiers suspected that they soon would be pushed into the water or wiped out by the Nazis. In those days, there were no CNN reporters to give live coverage of the battle conditions, but there was radio. 3 words were sent through the airways to the people in England: but if not. This was no code. According to Charles Colson, who tells the story in one of his books, it referred to the Old Testament experience of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were about to be cast into a very hot furnace, the three men stated with confidence, "Our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us, and he will deliver us. But if not, we will not serve thy gods." Our faith is also challenged, and our resilience is being tested. Let us reflect on these three words, "but if not," as we sit in each other's silence today, being comforted, being nurtured, being loved. Let us sit in each other's silence for the next 2 minutes. Breathe in deeply again, and allow the openness, the rest, the calmness that you've experienced to settle, and bear that into your day. Carry that as a physical reminder of God's presence, His indwelling presence, and the love that He has for you. Shalom.